Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. Hope everybody is doing very well. First thing, it's been long time that I have not uploaded any video in my YouTube channel because of some busy things come up in my life, so in my career. So that's why apologies for that. And so let's now I'm planning. I'm getting a lot of requests to create a series for the Azure Data Factory. So here I am planning to create a playlist for Azure Data Factory. So this is very first video of that, and this is a basic introduction of Azure Data Factory. So let's get started without any further delay. So what is Azure Data Factory? It is this is the definition. What you are seeing in the screen, is the actual definition which I have taken from the Microsoft site. It is saying that it is the cloud-based ETL. ETL is nothing but an extract, transform, and load service and data integration service that allows you to create a data-driven workflows for orchestrating data movement and transforming data at scale. So don't worry, I'll explain each and every word. So what it is, Microsoft is saying that it is basically Data Factory is one of the cloud services. As we know that today we have a lot of cloud service providers like Microsoft, Amazon, Google. So Azure Data Factory is one of the cloud services which is nothing but a extract, transform, load kind of service. So if you see, I have already created a series of SSIS. SSIS is one of the tool which help us to extract, transform, load data in on-premises. So that is on-premises tool, and Data Factory is nothing but related to the is similar kind of a SSIS tool, but it is on cloud. Okay, and it is data integration service. That means it's getting a data from the multiple sources that allows you to create a data-driven workflow. When I say the data-driven workflow, is nothing but a pipelines. Like in SSIS, if you are not aware of the SSIS, you can go to my channel and there is a playlist of SSIS. You can go through it. So in SSIS, as we move the data based on the task which is we have, and we will connect the task using the precedent constraints. Okay. Similarly, in Data Factory, we have a pipelines, and inside the pipelines, we have an activity sequence-wise activity to the task to complete the orchestration. And I say orchestration is nothing but a movement of data or sequencing of the task. Okay, and transformation data at scale. So transformation is modification of data as per the business requirement. At scale means as per the data volume it will scale up. That means as per the data volume, the Microsoft will manage to give ensure that to give more servers or more computing powers to execute your pipelines. It will be done behind the scene. You do not have to worry about anything because it will managed by the Microsoft so that's why it is cloud based, fully managed ETL tool, we can say, in the cloud, which is managed by the Microsoft service. So what is the need of area? That is the next question comes up, right? So as you know that today's we have a lot of the raw data. We have a lot of big data coming from the multiple sources, from the social networking side, from the sensors, from enterprise applications, from all kind of applications. So we got a lots of big data, raw data, which can be organized. Okay, which can be on unorganized data. Sorry, is often we store usually in relational, non-relational, and other source systems. So that means we have a lot of data. It can be stored in different formats. Okay, this raw data, if we wanted to get the meaningful information out of that raw data, it's very difficult. So what happened? This raw data requires a certain kind of the service which will do this job, which will extract the raw data in different formats, collate it, dump it in some location, centralized location, and do some transformation to get the insights of it, to get the meaningful information so that we can get some insights. Okay, that's what the area of come into the picture. So Azure Data Factory, that's why is a managed cloud service that builds such kind of complex ETL, ELT, and data integrations project. Okay, so here we'll discuss the component area one by one. So this is the list of the components like pipeline, activity, datasets, linked service, integration, runtime, and triggers. So these are basically 6 components which we should have a knowledge before creating a pipeline in the area. So let's get started one by one. Pipeline is nothing, we can say, a logical grouping of activities that perform a unit of a work. So when we create a pipeline, it would be a, like a, it to perform a complete work, and that will be segregate in a number of small tasks, that is nothing but an activity. So you define a work performed by the area as a pipeline of operations. So data factory might have one or more pipeline. So when we create Azure Data Factory, we can have a multiple pipelines for the multiple applications that we can do. In the demo I will show you. Now how we can execute the pipeline once it is created. It can be executed, it can be run by manually by, there is an option in ADF that I'll show you in the demo, and we can run using a trigger. So trigger is nothing but to execute on the timely basis, or on, I mean, on some kind of events, okay, on schedule basis. So that is, we can use of triggers to execute the pipeline. So there are two ways by which we can execute the pipeline. Activities in the pipeline can be chained together to operate sequentially, or they can be operated independently in parallel. So there are two options. We can chain it using arrows, okay, we can sequence it, or we can operate individually as well. So I'll show you all of this. So don't worry. So just take a basic idea that it is a logical group of activities. So we can say that one pipeline can have a multiple grouping, multiple activities inside it. Now second component is nothing but an activity. As I've already discussed a little bit in earlier slide, activity represent an individual processing or task in the pipeline. Okay, activities and pipeline defines the actions which need to be performed on your data. It can consume or produce the data set. I'll tell you what the data set is. Okay, activities support the data movement, data transformation, and control activities. So we can, the activities inside the pipeline can be divided into three categories. It could be the data movement activity, the activity or the task what we are going to perform. It could be based on moving of the data. Okay, so data movement. It could be the data transformation. If we have a requirement of transforming the data, so that type of activities is also available in the area. Okay, and the control activity, like we, if we wanted to control our data, how the data should move. Okay, like we have a if condition. Okay, if we have a for each, so these are nothing but a if, for each, get data meta, these are control activities. Okay, like we control it, like if this condition is true, then only it will go to this path, otherwise it will not go to this path. Okay, so this way, that is the control, the sort of the activities comes under the this category. Activities can be executed both in sequential as well as in the parallel manner. There is a setting which we will set, then it will execute parallelly, otherwise it will execute in sequence manner. For example, you can have here in the slide, I gave only the one example of a copy, which is very famous activity in the Azure Data Factory. We might use the copy activity to copy data from one data store to another data store. So type I have already explained: data movement, data transformation, data control. So sometimes data control also termed as a conditional or iteration activities. Okay, so just understand, just know about that pipeline is a group of activities, and activity represent a single task to be performed inside the pipeline. Now comes to linked service. This is very important. So whenever we talk about the pipelines, there would be a source, there would be a destination, right? So how we can connect to the source and destination? There we will there we have to provide a connection, some sort of a connection string we have to provide. Like we have to tell the pipeline that this is the source from where I wanted to extract the data. For that, like in the SSIS, we have a connection managers, right? We before creating the I mean, when we create a exercise package, when we use the task, okay, we have to attach the task with the connection managers, right, to tell and give the details of the source and destination. Similarly, in ADF term, in ADF terms, we have a linked service. So linked service define the connection to the data source. It tells where to find the data. It is more like of a connection strings which defines the connection information. So now the connection information can varies depending on the data source. I mean, if your source is a blob storage, then the information inside the connection string could be different, right? It will be a location of a container. It would be location of the path where the file resides. But when your source is a SQL database, then your connection string could be a different, having different information like username, password, and the server name, all those stuff. So link service defines a target data store or compute service as well. For example, if you see here, you can use the Azure Blob Storage Link Service to connect to the storage account to Data Factory, or you can use the Azure SQL Database Link Service to connect to the SQL database. So first we have to create a link service whenever we create a pipeline to ensure to tell the pipeline that this is my source and this is my destination. Now we talk about the data set. Data set is actually the representation of the data. So let's suppose I have created a link service which connects to my Azure database, Azure SQL Server. Okay, in that Azure SQL Server database, we have a multiple tables. So actually, which table I wanted to ingest the data from, which table I wanted to put the data into. So that particular table, I need to connect to that particular table. Okay, or if we talk about this Azure Blob Storage or ADLS Gen 2, I need to give the proper path and the location. So that is actually called the data set. The data set is nothing, it's a representation or pointing the to the exact path or the data which is you wanted to consume or put your data into. So data sets represent the data structure within the data store. Data sets represent the data that you wanted to ingest either or store output in your activities. For example, if you are reading or processing data from Azure Blob Storage, you create an input data set that uses the Blob Storage link service to specify the details of the storage account. Okay, so these are the basic, and how all of this will connect to each other. What is the uh, how the environment will be provided to this. So here it comes the integration runtime. Integration runtime provide the bridge between the activity and the linked service. It will provide the infrastructure, we can say, which is used by the data factory to perform the orchestration, to perform this all kind of the activities inside the pipeline, which this is the it provides the infrastructure. When I say that provides the infrastructure, my I mean to say, like, it provides the server, it provides the power, it provides all those thing, memory allocation, all those thing, it will be provided by the integration runtime. Integration runtime will ensure that like software installation, patching, capacity scaling, all those things we do not have to worry about. We have to only execute our pipeline. We create it, execute our pipeline. Okay, and whatever the infrastructure server running behind to execute or code will be managed by the Microsoft. If patching is required, that will be done on regular basis by the Microsoft. If capacity is today I have a less data to process, then it will might be it will take less time to execute. But if we have a big size data, then it will scale up, so it will be managed by the Microsoft. So there are three type of integration runtime: Azure integration runtime, self-hosted integration runtime, and Azure SSIS integration runtime. All these three integration runtime has a different purpose. So this is Azure integration runtime is your default integration runtime. If you have not created any integration runtime, then it will be used by your linked services to execute your pipelines. So what is Azure? If you see, it provides the fully managed serverless compute. So it's like fully managed when it says the patching, capacity, scaling, provisioning, the servers, okay, software installation, all will be fully managed by the Microsoft. When I say serverless compute, that means you will never know which server is actually it. These are the server which is all over the internet. It's not on the on premises. Okay, so it will be, it's not like the service is not allocated. Server would be there, but it will be allocated on runtime. Whenever you fire or your whenever you wanted to execute a pipeline, it will be whatever whatever the server is available, that server will be allocated to execute. Not allocated, it will be used to execute your pipeline. So it will be server randomly, it will be done. Okay, compute serverless compute in Azure. All the movement and transformation will be done in the cloud data store. So that means it will be done in cloud, it will not be done. So all those so that's why this is the biggest reason that most of the organizations are moving their applications, everything on the cloud. Because whenever organizations have an application, they have some domain, they have uh, uh, hosted their application, the servers. Then there is a different team to maintain, to do the patching in the on the servers on a regular basis and maintain the servers. So there is a there is on the, and there is a huge cost of doing that. And even if suppose even those application is not being accessed frequently on the weekends, let's suppose, still organization has to pay because their applications are hosted on the data centers on the service, on premises. So here, what is the cloud service providers? Not only Microsoft, Amazon also has given I mean, the service to the organization. Like you can subscribe to our service, okay, and you can deploy your applications, whatever you have in our cloud, okay. This all these things, okay, will be managed by us. Your patching, software installation, management, okay, this will be done by us. So there is a huge cost saving that will that is organization can see. So that's why this is going, I mean, this technology is going crazy nowadays in the market. So everybody is moving their applications and databases, everything on the cloud. And if they have SSIS packages running on there, then also they wanted to execute on the, I mean, put on the cloud. So second is self-hosted integration runtime. So this service manages the activity between the cloud as well and the data store residing in the private network. Suppose this is basically for when we have a data movement in the public network, where the source and destination both are in the public network. Then we use the Azure integration runtime. What when we have the source in the on-premises and destination in the cloud, or we have a source in the cloud and the destination in the on-premises. So if we have that requirement to move the data from on-prem to cloud, or from cloud from public to on-premises, then in that case we have to use the self-host integration runtime. If you have a SSIS, this is basically fully devoted on the SSIS. If you wanted to execute the SSIS package which is created on non-premises in your public network, in your cloud, then you have to use the Azure SSIS integration runtime. I'll show you how we can create, we have an SSIS packages, how we can execute this SSIS packages on the cloud. That will show you in the demo. So if you see, it will give you a fair idea what it is, what is the relationship between these components. If you see here, this is a pipeline. If I can, if it is clear to, let me zoom it. So if you see here, pipeline is, we have this pipeline is nothing but a logical grouping of activities. So it can have activities like Hive activity, and it can have a store procedure, it can have a copy. So there could be a multiple different activities, and it will consume data set, or it will produce the data set. Okay, it will consume when it has to get the data from the data set, I mean from the data store. And it whenever we have a destination, okay, like table or file, then it will produce I mean the data set, it will connect with the data set. And data set is internally represents the data item which is stored inside the link service. So link service is basically a connection string which is connected to your source and data set, and this activity runs on the link service. And this overall structure, everything infrastructure will be provided by the in IR integration runtime. Okay, so these are all the basic main components. Here we have one part like there is one more that is triggers. Trigger initiate the execution of pipeline, as I told in the previous slide, that we can either execute the pipeline manually or as well as the trigger. So trigger is actually initiate the execution of line of the pipeline, and it will tell when to execute and at what frequency. Okay, you can execute a pipeline on wall clock schedule, on in a periodic interval, and or when an event happens. So that means triggers are of the three types: schedule based triggers, tumbling windows triggers, storage events triggers, or event based triggers that will be further categorized as a storage events and custom events. So this is, as the name suggests, it is very clear that this invokes a pipeline on specific time and frequency. That is, if I wanted, I have created a pipeline, I wanted, pipeline is nothing. If you have experience on SSIS package, pipeline is, you can compare your pipeline as a SSIS package. Okay, as we schedule our SSIS package using the SQL agent job, similarly pipelines have a triggers. So pipeline will be executed by the schedule, like suppose on Sunday at this time I wanted to execute. So we will use the schedule, we will create schedule based trigger on that pipeline. If I wanted to have the requirement where I wanted to execute my pipeline every 2 hours or every 10 minutes or every 15 minutes recurrent. So in that case I can use the tumbling window. Tumbling window is basically this can be achieved in the schedule as well. But what is happening? Tumbling window is very famous because we can execute our pipeline to get the historical data record as well. But in schedule, if you say that my frequency and time would be on 2 days, so it will execute your pipeline in the future dates or the present date. It will never execute in the back dates. But tumbling window will enable your pipeline to execute in the back dates. That is the main difference. Then we have event triggers. Event that it invokes a pipeline on the basis of some kind of the event. So those some kind of the event could be two types: storage event and custom event. Storage events, whenever I wanted, suppose the file is arrived in this particular container in the storage in ADLS location, that very moment I wanted to invoke my pipeline. So that is the storage event trigger. So in that scenario, I will create a trigger on top of that pipeline, and that trigger will be of type storage event. Then I could have the another custom events. If I wanted, I have created some custom event, and on top of that custom event I wanted to invoke my pipeline. In that case I will use the custom event. So I will show each and every component in detail in the demo section. And here is one more thing, that is data flow. It is basically used for the transformation activity. Pipelines, all activities, like we have copy data activities, those are data movement activity. When and the data, and if we say that control activity, we I have told you in previous slide, like activities are of three types. Copy data movement activities, like copy activity, where we are moving the data. Okay. And we have and transformation activity. So in the transformation activity, data flow activity is the one which is basically used for creating a transformation. So this is special type of activities which is in present in ADF, that allows the data engineer to develop a data transformation logic visually without any writing a code. So it doesn't require any technical knowledge to transform your data. Okay. It provides a very good UI to do that. You can transform the data in the multiple step using the visual editor without having write any single code. Other than data expression, data expressions you might have to write. They are executed inside there is a but one thing you can keep this in your mind, that they are executed inside the ADF pipeline or Azure Databricks cluster for scale out processing using the Spark. So there will be a cost involved on in this, because there is always, whenever we have to it will be executed. I mean, whenever you create the data flow, it will be executed on the Azure Databricks cluster. So the cluster will be running behind when you perform this data flow. So there will be a different cost for that. So that is what is the basic idea of what Azure Data Factory. So let's meet in the second video, where I will show you how we can create a very basic first Azure Data Factory instance, and how I'll go through the portal of the Azure portal and give you how we can create a Azure Data Factory instance, and I'll show you the layout of it. Thank you and have a nice day.